Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Garret Dillahunt about Sprung, which is premiering on Amazon Freevee August 19th. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, man. Good morning. Thanks for talking.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's interesting. The pandemic hits, Garret, and there's all this content out there. We're all stuck at home watching all this content. The content's not about COVID, but it's all this content that we're consuming. Then years later, content involving COVID or tying in COVID kind of come up, like Sprung. And I'm just curious for you, because I know there were some tweaks and everything. What were the early conversations with Greg Garcia about Sprung specifically that you had with him?
Well, I guess it was in the year of shutdown.
Yeah.
Yeah, we spoke on the phone. Like a lot of people were rethinking their lives during the shutdown. I was too. And I was thinking, I've been doing this a while. And, I was coming off a job where I wasn't having much fun. And I thought, I'm too old to not be having fun. I'm too old to be doing this silly profession. If I'm not enjoying myself, why are you, taking these jobs? Why are you doing that? Yeah. So I called my buddy Greg. It was the last time I had a ton of fun was on Raising Hope with him, or guest book. We just get along well. We think the same, but he's a billion times better writer. And so we talked about themes, and we talked about the kinds of guy I wanted to be. And then he came back with this incredible idea. But in terms of COVID, neither of us wanted to make a show about COVID. We were tired of seeing those. I don't want to see a bunch of scenes between two people wearing masks, moralizing about things or telling me what we should be doing or shouldn't be doing. We didn't, we're not so political that way. So I still don't feel like it's about COVID. It's kind of the catalyst that gets it going. And there's certainly elements in it, but it's just as big an element for Jack, not having been in the world for 26 years.
Yeah, there's some sprinkles of COVID. We call them in our household, we call them the COVID vigilantes. I don't know if you know.
Okay.
So there is a little bit of that. So in terms of working with Greg, what's like the mindset specifically for you? Does it just feel like just friends working on things? Is there a little bit of pressure sometimes knowing that, you're one of his go-to guys for projects? I'm just curious about that relationship a little bit.
Well, I chose it because, there isn't that kind of pressure. We are friends, but I have no doubt that we're going to make something great together. It's not like I'm slumming it and saying, screw it, I'm just going to do this. And, I think we've made the best thing we've ever made together, and maybe one of the best things I've ever made in my life, because the COVID stuff that does exist, I think this is the first time we can laugh about it.
Yes.
We're laughing at it. It's such a relief. I wasn't expecting those reactions from people who've seen it. People I've sent it to, they're just like, one friend of mine had his hand on his heart the last 10 minutes. And he said, I realized this is the first time I've been able to sort of let go and, laugh about all the crazy shit that went on during that time. It's crazy.
It is crazy. Absolutely. And it's interesting that you mention that, because you look at Sprung, you look at Raising Hope. I don't think we're reinventing the wheel. I think sitcoms and comedy always had serious undertones. I just feel like the more you watch, the more you think about it. Do you think, in your opinion, that that's kind of one thing kind of on your mind, or why you think those shows like Raising Hope and Sprung do well? Because they're funny, but like you said, they're real, they're raw, they have those serious undertones a lot of people go through. Do you think about that with projects like that? Raising Hope specifically, right?
I guess I don't really think about it. I've got to say, I'm kind of a believer in, those things kind of happen by the way.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Unconsciously. I think when you set out to do something, or you set out to preach a sermon or something, the audience can feel it. I don't like being hit over the head with stuff, and there just isn't any of that here. I think what people like, and maybe, I don't know what this says, if this is good or bad, is that, like Greg always says, he's not really interested in what's going on in the Kardashians' house. nothing about the Kardashians. He's using it as an example of some, like, that's a very affluent, they've got everything they need house. You know, what plastic surgery shall I get today? You know, he's interested in that, the grungy house with all the junk down around it, but with a pack of kids, and everyone seems really freaking happy. You know, like, how does that work? What's going on in that house? You know, and I think those homes are more common in our country and around the world. There's people, you know, it's freaking rough out there. It's hard to make a living, you know. You know, I remember my household when I was young, and, you know, I didn't know we didn't have money. I didn't know we weren't the richest people in town. My parents loved us, and they found ways for us to have fun. They found ways, you know, they created memories for us. And this is a different kind of family, but it's family nonetheless. And I just think you're going to recognize a lot of things about your own lives in it and feel comfortable. You feel comfortable talking to these people. You know?
Absolutely. And, you know, Garret Dillahunt is a storyteller. That's what you do. Is also, to kind of add to that a little bit, is one of your favorite things being able to kind of transform and dive into all these different kinds of worlds, like Army of the Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, Sprung? Like, is that one of the best things about it?
It certainly is for me.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's that unusual that maybe it's unusual that I get the opportunity. You know, I've always tried to just do something different than the last thing I did, you know, as much as the choices offered me will allow, you know. You know, look, it's love or money, isn't it? You know, sometimes we got to pay the rent. You know, we don't have much choice about what job we can take, but other times it's like, you know, what really turns my crank, what makes me happy and makes me excited. And I think it's surrounding myself with people that I trust, and, you know, and I'm comfortable with my role as a court jester. You know, I don't feel big pressure to instruct anyone on how they should be doing anything. There's so much I don't know, and I'm learning things every day, but I can tell you about what's happening in the world, and here's a character reacting to it a certain way, and, you know, leave you free to react how you want. You know?
It's always like that too. Like Sprung is gonna drop on Amazon Freevee on the 19th, and then it's basically kind of out of your hands. Like, it's in the people's hands, basically.
Yeah, you know, and on an obscure streamer, you know, but I think he's doing a great job of rebranding itself. They got some really cool stuff on it, and another thing I like is that no one has to pay for it. You know,
absolutely.
There's a few short ads each episode, but each episode is longer than an episode of Raising Hope. They're all about 35 minutes or 37, as opposed to 22. So we cram a lot into our week of shooting. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Add in the split screen stuff. It's like we shot 2 episodes in a week.
I feel like your answer to this is going to be like it's all storytelling, because my question is kind of the mindsets for different kind of projects and genres and everything. And a lot of people, when I ask this question, a lot of people say, yeah, it's all storytelling, different scripts, different people. You're just kind of going in there. But I feel like the scale of certain projects, though, will change. Like, it will obviously kind of change the mindset a little bit, where you have no choice, right? Like Army of the Dead and everything, like the big scale of these projects. Do you know what I mean? A little bit like that. Like, it's got to change the mindset and preparation of an actor a little bit, right?
Well, it's different characters.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to sound, you know, purposefully, you know, unmysterious. I know we really enjoy those stories of, you know, people who live in a cave for a year in preparation for a role. You know, I just find that kind of performative. You know, look, there's a script for each of these projects, and the character that I'm going to play is written. It's different than Jack and Sprung. This is an asshole in Army of the Dead who's going to betray everyone and cut off the zombie queen's head. You know, spoiler alert. Sorry. You know, that's the guy I'm playing. You know, all I have to do is do my job well. You know, I feel, and, you know, unless it's someone, you know, he didn't have an accent I had to learn. You know, I just played a Southie gangster, like a mob boss from the South of Boston. You know, that was a little more preparation for me. You know, I felt a little out of my wheelhouse, a little uncomfortable. I'm usually sort of, you know, I'm not usually the boss. You know, I enjoy being the sort of, you know, like in Hand of God on Amazon. You know, I like being the boss's henchman or something,
Yeah.
So, that was a little more prep for me. It was out of my comfort zone. I had to learn this accent, and I wanted it to be good. So that, there's different preparation in that way. But otherwise, I just feel like I got to do a truthful job of portraying this unique individual in each one.
Yeah, because I was a little like reluctant. That's a question I sometimes ask a bit, but I interviewed someone about that who's like known for working on different projects and playing completely different roles on these projects, Garret, right? I asked him that question and he was like, no, it's all storytelling. It's all the same to me. And he just like, that's all he said. And I was just like, well, okay. So thank you for giving me more than that answer.
I think we always feel this weird pressure to, and neophytes in my business are very impressed with actors who, I see it all the time when I work with kids in a show or teenagers, and if we have an actor who's super, I call it LA method because it's not really a method. The method is very simple. The method is so you don't have to, do horrible things to people to play the part. You can be having a conversation. Oh, it's time to go. You click into your little thing, and like Ellen Burstyn is like the perfect method actor. She just sits around, shooting the shit with you, and it's time to go. And she told me she has an elevator in her head. She goes down to the proper floor, takes the file she needs, inserts it, does this amazing performance, returns the file, and hey, I'm back. She's not, she's not in it all day or making you call her by a certain name or whatever, and that's fine. That people do great work sometimes that way, but for me, it just feels a little performative and betrays an insecurity, really, but I'm all for people doing what they need to do. I've worked with all kinds of people, and I shouldn't know your technique. It doesn't matter. We're all just get on with it,
I feel like sometimes though it's the same thing with, people look at Army of the Dead and look at what an awful character you were, right? And then sometimes can't separate the reality of the fact that, you're Garret Dillahunt, an actor playing that character, right? You see that in a lot of Netflix shows and everything where there's like the villain and people don't, do you think sometimes people also don't like realize that like, this is how you're all like making a living. This is a job. You know what I mean? This is you showing up to work. Does that get lost a little bit, do you think, still from your perspective?
I don't know. I've never really been influenced by that. I don't know what to do about it if there are people that can't separate. I don't, that makes me sad that they don't have enough imagination to know what we're watching. But to be honest, I've never really been affected by that or in any negative way.
Yeah.
I remember early on, because the business has changed,
yes,
rapidly, even from when I first started, and you used to have to pick what you wanted to do. If you were going to do television, forget movies. You're never going to be in movies.
Yeah.
And it's just not that way anymore. People do it's hard to make a living, with this massive, amount of content out there. We consume it and forget it. People work years on a project. It all drops in one day. People binge it on to the next. Oh yeah, what was that great thing we saw? And that's a little disheartening. But
I still like the week to week. I think there's a place for both. I enjoy the week to week, to be honest with you, Garret. I like the traditional drop.
And we're dropping two a week. So it's kind of like that. It's kind of roughly an hour of us every week if you want, or just watch, but I do too. I kind of like the anticipation. I like being able to really digest and download what I just saw. And, I like being excited for what's coming next in the story.
Absolutely. And before we wrap up quickly, you mentioned, Sprung's going to drop on Amazon Freevee on the 19th of August. When they get a chance to watch Sprung, what are you hoping they get out of it takeaway wise, Garret?
Well, our whole reason for doing this was we just felt like people needed a laugh.
Yeah.
People needed to feel good for a second. I'm under no illusions here about, the importance of what I do. I struggle with it sometimes. People are just having such a hard time out there, and there's depression and there's road rage. It's like Mad Max on the freeways here in LA. And we just wanted to make something where people could come and identify with what they saw, feel relief, a little bit of heartwarming, a little bit of redemption. You know, I like stories like that. So I'm really pleased with the initial response to the show. That seems to be exactly what people are feeling.
Absolutely. And like I said, I always love chatting a little bit about it, but I think the best thing when I drop my interviews is people kind of know, oh, Sprung, Garret Dillahunt, cool, Greg Garcia. And you talk a little bit about it, they watch a trailer or something, then they go in. Like, I don't like going super into it, you know what I mean? Just in case of spoilers and everything. I like people going in fresh. Because I honestly think going into this fresh is a good start, in my opinion. That's just my opinion.
The whole show's kind of a fresh start, isn't it?
Yeah.
Thematically with Jack, it's fresh start in all kinds of ways for everyone with COVID. And I think the music's great. You know, I've been super fortunate, you know, in this career. I always want more, sure. And there's times you feel passed over or whatever. I go through all that crap, sure, like everybody. But in general, I've been very fortunate. I've had really cool things I've gotten to do.
Yeah.
And this might be the best thing I've ever done.
That's amazing.
The thing I'm most proud of, you know. So I hope people watch it and I hope people enjoy it.
You are fantastic in it too. You are really, really fantastic in it.
Thanks,
it's a fun time. I can't wait for people to see it. Garret, thank you so much for coming on Pop Turn. It was great chatting with you.
This has been great. I thought we were gonna hang out all day.
Next time, of course. Sometimes depending on it, they get longer and shorter. I think this is the sweet spot right here.
Like, oh Jesus, I gotta get out of here. Hey, what's your address? I'll come over.
Like you said, first 2 episodes are dropping the 19th on Amazon Freevee. Sprung, they could check that out. You're on social media, right? You're on Instagram, I believe. People could keep up to date.
Yeah. Just my name, you know, on all the platforms. Come say hi.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been Pop Turner, youtube.com/Pop Turner. For previous episodes, you're going to be able to catch Garret Dillahunt as Jack in Sprung on Amazon Freevee August 19th. Until next time, this is Garret Dillahunt and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.